This is my 2008 Panasonic KX-TG9344, and it's weird. You see, this is a DECT 6.0 phone, like this, and this. And it was released in 2008. But it feels and sounds like a Panasonic 5.8 GHz phone. And so, I call this a 5.8ified DECT phone. Now, it's weird not just because of that. That wouldn't be weird if it weren't for the fact that the Panasonic KX-TG9344 came out in 2007. And that's what I call a proper DECT phone, because the keytone and ringtones are all new. That version, that style of tone free? No, this doesn't have that one. This was what I consider a series, although it was actually two series. In 2008, there was this, the 9341 series, then a non-dialing based variant of that, the 9331 series. Then there was a more rounded base, more rounded top of the handset, amber instead of white display backlight, no key backlight, no call block, no talking alert version, called the 6321 series, a locator based version of that, the 6311 series, and then an actual 5.8 GHz version of the 63 series called the 43 series. The 43 series is black, the 63 series is white and silver, the 93 series of this is titanium black for the most part, and as far as I know, the only one to come in white and silver would be the free handset version of this. I believe that also comes in this color. The story behind this particular phone is that we stayed at a house in Oregon on a trip in June 2024, and the phone there was a 9331 series, at least a 9332, because the handset on the base said it was number 2. Below the battery icon, if there wasn't a missed call, you can see the number in brackets represents the number of the handset. This is handset 1. And here on the phone display shelf, this is handset 2. And by the way, the charger and battery cover, and I believe belt clip, are used on the 43 and 63 series as well. So this makes a rare case where a DECT and a 5.8 share pieces, but we also had that with the 3.0 and 6.0 series in 2007. The 3.0 was 2.4 and the 6.0 was 5.8. So the 93, 63, 43 was not the first time two frequency phones were sharing components. I wanted to check out the talking alarm feature on that phone because, like I said in the talking alarm video that I made with this phone, mine is, I believe, the very first YouTube video of that feature. And so I had no idea how it worked or how it displayed the options. Like, it would have been weird if it said voice 1 for voice 7, which in fact it does. But there's also no way it could fit the long phrases, like phrase 6, it's time to pick up the children, on the small display of this model. And so I was going to check it out, only there was a problem. The handset was saying insert battery. So I thought, oh, whatever, maybe the battery just came disconnected or something. So the next morning, the morning after we got there, I opened up the battery compartment. And being a cordless phone, you'd expect to see rechargeable batteries in here. Like what's in here, right? Well, that's what is supposed to be in there. But instead, I saw one of the worst things you could possibly find in a cordless phone: corroded, non-rechargeable batteries. And so the phone was likely damaged beyond repair. And so I had to wait to get myself one of these models. I was going to get a 6.4 or 7.4 series, so those are 2009 models. Also 5.8ified in terms of the sounds, but more DECT-ified in terms of the menu design. Those are DECT models after all. But I also had another mystery. What does the greeting record prompt sound like in Spanish? I know the erase prompt in Spanish because this is not my first Spanish-speaking phone by any means.
Pulse la misma tecla otra vez para borrar todos los mensajes.
And there are no videos I could find of that either. The 6.4 and 7.4 series wouldn't have answered that because those ones, the greeting is done on the handset.
Pulse la misma tecla otra vez para grabar el saludo.
There's your answer for anyone wondering. And also, there is no error message if you record a message that's too short.
Pulse.
Keeping with the theme that non-English languages use beeps instead of voice prompts. So instead of end of final message, it goes. Instead of answer on or off, it goes.
Martes.
And by the way, starting with this model, it no longer says set time when the answering system is turned on for time not set. Now, this has always been true of the proper DECTs, like the 1032. This model has some aspects of those models, so it's very weird that these weren't just proper DECTs. I mean, I could see why for the 9.3 and 6.3 series they did that, because they shared parts of the 4.3 series, which is actually a 5.8. But the 6.4 and 7.4 series is even weirder, because that looks more like a DECT phone. Again, it is a DECT phone, but it still sounds like a 5.8, 3 tones and 4 melodies, too. They did not have any high-end models used for proper DECT software until 2010 with the DECT 6.0 Plus series, which I talked about in my 6524 overview video. So that's why I got the 9.3 series instead of the 6.4 or 7.4 series. Now, I do want a 6.4 or 7.4 series handset, but I do not know if those handsets would work fully on a 9.3 series base. Because, again, on those models, the greeting is done on the handset, while on here it's done on the base, and those handsets have a full answering device menu with message playback and all of your settings and greeting management, while on here it's just like a 5.8, where you have message play in the main menu, then set answering is in its own menu, no greeting options on the handset at all. So if anyone knows whether those handsets would work, please tell me. I think I am just going to risk it, hope for the best. Worst case, I'll either return it or get a 6.4 or 7.4 base to put it on. But there would be no features differences there would be no features that those have that this doesn't, except without numbers call blocking. But that would work the same as it does on the 1061 series, which is on the other side of these models, and is once again a proper DECT. So that's why the 6.3, 9.3, 6.4, and 7.4 series is so weird. Because on either side of these models, where the keytones sound like this, we have models where it sounds like this. That is very weird. Like I said, this has some aspects that the proper DECT models have. For example, if the phone is in use, 5.8 models before this would sound the intercom busy tone if you try to, for example, use the answering system while the phone's in use. However, on this phone, it sounds the regular error tone, just like on a DECT phone. So let's say I go off hook on this proper DECT phone, you get the regular error tone. This model, believe it or not, was the first to allow you to use left and right to increase and decrease the volume. The KX-TG9344 and I believe 8231, since it's basically a dressed up 1032 with contacts on the bottom and soft keys and a color display and diamond cut keys and gloss black base charger and handset, they don't have that. This handset display is slightly larger than most 5.8 models were. This display size was first seen on the 2007 KX-TG60 series. The 30 series does not have this large display. It has View CID instead of RCVD calls, and you have a shared phone book without an erase all option. Nor does the 6.4 and 7.4 series have it, so there are a lot of signs pointing to those handsets potentially being fully compatible with this. But another thing I'm not so sure about is the 740 handset's message list, if that'll work on this or not. This also has silver buttons on the handset, just like the base on this and my 6524. This phone is not only weird, but it's also special. That is because this is my first ever phone purchase to be delivered to not my main home. From June 1st, 2024 to October 14th, 2024, we stayed in a temporary house in a nearby city. And that is because we had kitchen and bathroom remodels. And so I could not have phone purchases delivered to my main home. I did not want to put them on hold, no pun intended, especially since after that Oregon trip I really wanted to check out the talking alarm feature and see what it's like. And so this phone was delivered to that temporary home. Then I also got the second handset delivered to the temp home, and it came with the display failure that's very common on these, so I had to replace that second handset. And this actually also makes this my first phone where the two handsets are made in different countries. The base and the first handset, which came originally from a set of 4, hence 9344, but was sold just as this base and one handset, is made in Malaysia, and then the second handset and charger were made in China. Since I wanted the replacement to match, I got a handset that was made in China. Not knowing that these older ones could be made in different countries, when I replaced my KX-TG5632 second handset, the first handset has the label in the battery compartment, the second one, replacement, has the label on the bottom. I did not know that was made in China, so that actually means that phone, all of it's made in Malaysia except for that second handset replacement itself. The charger says Malaysia though, because that came from the Malaysian-made original set. Now, I'm not going to show a talking alarm feature in this video, because I already made a video about the talking battery alert and talking alarm, and I'll link that in the video description, or you can click on the card, which will pop out now from, I believe it's going to be up in the top right, but YouTube always changes things, so who knows, by the time you watch this, it might appear in the bottom center if they want to do that. That's unlikely, but I know some YouTubers say that the card pops out of a particular spot. I just don't want to say that it'll pop out of a particular spot because UIs always change. I was also doing stuff to prepare my phones for my rejuvenated phone setup. Little did I know that would later include free PBX. That was in March 2025. Echo Test came to my consistent phone book entry set. Unlike newer models, when you save an entry to the call block list, it just saves straight away, and this is in fact also the case on the KX-TG9344. So if we save it to the call block list, it saves straight away. Now let's take it out. So basically the 641 is this handset, but with a white display backlight and the 5.8 defined sounds. When you reach the end of the call block list, it goes back to this screen, just like the phone book on Uniden phones that don't have the multi-item display, rather. And then you can add your call block entries. This phone does not have light-up ID. The KX-TG90 series was the last to have that, so it's amber only. And this will be the case with all visual ringers going forward. This being a shared phone book, changing the ringer tone setting on one handset applies to all handsets. And I'm going to go to the other handset, and you'll see that the ringtone I selected on the first handset applies to this handset as well. You can see we have it on tone 3, official focus. So edit and ringer ID are the only options. There is a lesser known model in this series for the 2008 models, the KX-TH1211. That would have a base without a charging area. I call those transmit-only bases, or they're also called hidden bases because you can place them out of sight because they're just for transmitting to the handsets. That has link to cell. It was the first DECT model with link to cell. And it uses a different handset. I'm not sure if this is compatible, but I believe the 931 and 930 are electronically the same. I think the C1 and C2 would use pixels up here. The manual makes it seem that way. This handset still has the same exact display they've been using since 2003 on the KX-TG9344 with L1 and L2. Now, why does this display have segments for L1 and L2 if most two-liners have 3 soft keys and not this display design? That's because there were 2-line models with this display design. Specifically, I believe it's the KX-TG2480. Or 2483. I forget which one it is. But the way that works is, in standby, you'd have line 1 and line 2 soft keys, but then you may be wondering, how in the world would you get to your caller list and phone book? You would press up and down, which normally goes to the caller list, but on those models, it would show the soft keys for going to the lists. And that was also the case on the later free soft key models. But on the DECT models, it's no longer that way. You can also do your voicemail settings. The voicemail access error is rather strange. Well, the whole thing's rather strange. When it's empty, it's just blank. It doesn't prompt you for anything. So now I unstored the number, and now if I go to VM access, you hear an error tone, and it says store VM access number, except that's not an error message, that's the voicemail menu that we're now in. So you can do the usual things like voicemail tone detect and store your number. Then you can also press VM while on the phone for voicemail access, and you can access the phone book from the right soft key.
Enter a menu option.
Or press menu, which is very strange because it does not tell you anywhere other than in the manual that you press menu for the phone book. And on intercom on the 5.8s before this, you did have a menu with just that one phone book option. But back to what I was saying about the TH series, that one does have an extra option in the menu for phone book entries, erase, because the left soft key is instead cell. So it would go edit, erase, ringer ID, I believe. Just like 5.8 models, saving to a phone book is immediate. It does not save. It does not prompt you to make changes, to edit the entry, while on the 10.6 one it does. Night mode is also rather strange. Unlike newer models, it's not found in the ringer setting menu. It's in the main menu. And I guess because it's a new setting for this model, this is the very first setting where you can press the right arrow to save. The weird part about this menu is that even though it does not link to the base to go to this menu, watch what happens once I unplug the base. So now I'm minding my own business in the night mode menu. And suddenly I get kicked out. And this error message is different from the 5.8s and 2.4s as well. Even the 6.0 and 3.0 series uses the move closer to base error message. And this is of course because you need the time. Handset 1 backs it up, but you still need the base to get the time, especially if you're using another handset. Unlike the 6.4 series and later, the lights light up when you plug the base in, but it does not beep. You can also press and hold locator while it boots up, then release it and press and hold it again to have the base forget all the registered handsets. Speaking of deregistration, you press menu pound 335 and then select the handset you want to deregister, just like on DECT proper DECT models. This was actually introduced on the 6.0 and 3.0 series. However, they've made it better on this model. As typical for 5.8 software design, it does not link to the base until it actually needs to. So you can enter the code 335, press OK, and then you can clear it. And then unlike my KX-TG9344, you can actually back out of it. And this is old enough so that you don't need the code to access it, but you do if you want to get to greeting only, even though this is otherwise like the 5.8 models. Then press OK, handset still not linked to the base. Now it prompts me to select a handset number to deregister. Unlike the 3.0 and 6.0 series, it shows what number this handset is. So in case you forget which handset this is, it'll tell you. However, this is not the case on other models. So let's say we did it on this KX-TG9344. This is handset 2, yet it highlights handset 1. Unigen does highlight the handset you're using in this menu. Then it links to a base when you press a handset number. If the handset's in use... Oh no, if you select an invalid handset, it'll say error, not invalid. Then, because this is the only set of registration instructions for this style handset, it says it right here instead of refer to manual to prepare base and press OK. So now I'm going to do that. I'm going to press and hold locator. And this is the first model to have the slower registration tone. These are the first models with the 5.8 software design to have a registration tone. And that's because on non-dialing bases, there is no in-use light. In typical 5.8 fashion, there is only an in-use light on the base if it's a dialing base, a base with a keypad. And also like the 5.8s and 2.4s, the base speaker volume resets to level 5 when it reboots. And you can't access the menu. It's also not new enough, again, this is very weird, because on either side of it, you have models where you can register by placing on charge, but you cannot do it on this model. This does have a slightly longer than usual delay. All the later 5.8 designs had that. Except the 5.7 series, I think, did not have that. So if we want to register a handset, we have to press OK and keep the handset off the base. So you can't register handsets if the battery is struggling. But that's why place on charge to register is very beneficial, because you can place it on charge once you prepare the base, or before you prepare the base. This base button layout would be reused for the KX-TG9441, which is basically this, but more rounded, and the handset charges on the top left instead of the bottom left, because it's basically the charger size base that the 6431 is, but with the keypad on the right. So actually, the Android system buttons would be down here, oh, yeah, that's how it is. But answering system buttons would be below the handset charging area. Then they would use this exact layout again on the 6541 in 2010, with the only difference being the memo button being right here next to the free key, and a button like this, not like a rectangle button, not a circle button. This is a test memo for the 9344. Another strange thing about these 5.8 and 5.8 phones is that the message light is dependent on a real-time signal being sent by the base. So the message light is flashing right now. Now I'm going to unplug the base. It's going to take more than a few seconds for it to go out of range. And yet it stopped flashing. But the handset still thought it was in range of the base. Now this is weird it's done like this because the handset is still saying it has a new message. And if it has a new voicemail, that would still appear, and then it would say no link to base if we try to clear the indicator. Speaking of voicemail, let's now record a testing message from this phone after we play this memo recorded.
New message.
This is a test memo for the 9344. Press stop, not redial pause, to pause it.
5:28 p.m. End of final message.
On the handset, it will just say it's a memo. And you cannot get the call options like you can with a caller message like this. So you can edit it if it's editable and call it back. Now, let's leave a testing message. Actually, I have recorded a test message from this already, so I'm just going to mark that as new, and then we'll play that message. So now I marked the message as new, and this will now get the voicemail tone detection, and the message will appear. However, for some reason, the handset lags a bit when it gets the thing, so it, doesn't show it for 10 seconds. So you can clear the indicator by pressing and holding off, and it'll actually beep when it registers the command. And if you spam off to unlink, unlike proper DECTs, it instantly goes back to standby, so spamming it will cause a no link message, unlike on the 10 series, for example, where there's a short delay for unlinking. AT&T went in reverse. They used to have it, I believe even the 5.8s had it, but now they no longer do. But it would still freeze up if it fails to unlink, and then it would eventually say it's out of range and unlink. So then if the base, and you can't even clear the indicator of the phone's in use, unlike all of my other phones. Just like that. Now, we're going to play the message from the base. If I try to do the handset, these batteries were good when I got it. I don't know how old they were when this was sold, but now, it wouldn't be a 5.8ified phone without a bad battery. I guess when the phone heard
It's time for lunch.
it decided to eat up its battery life for good. So let's play the message from the base.
You have one first.
This is a test message on the Panasonic KX-TG9344 base speakerphone. Handset on talk mode and handset on speakerphone mode. This is a very strange model because it's a DECT 6.0 phone, but it looks but it feels and sounds like a 5.8 gigahertz phone, and the menu layout, so it looks like a 5.8 in that sense. But I thought that this would have DECT ringers, just 7 of them, free tones for melodies, but nope, it in fact is 5.8ified. Very weird. The reason I thought that is because the 2-line 9.3 series has identical handset shells, but different internals. It uses soft keys instead of a physical menu button, and is a proper DECT. And that one has the same ringtones as the KX-TG9344 handset, and then Japanese ringers on the base, although monophonic, not polyphonic. Oh, no, I mean, no, they are polyphonic, but just made up of tones, not instruments like the Japanese models are. Now let's play the test message I recorded in my system. I forgot to do this in the X-ray appointment phones video.
This is a testing message. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check with Tyler's phone testing code line as powered by free PBX.
Now for the handset.
This is a testing message.
This is TuneIt voice enhancer.
Jumps over the lazy dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Check with Tyler's phone testing code line as powered by free PBX.
See, it incorporates that sometimes.
This is a testing
Yeah,
message.
even there it's cooperating still.
Quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Unlike the 30 and 60 series, alarm is in the set date and time menu, just like on the newer models. And the 1032 didn't have it this way either. And oddly, the 30 and 60 series does not have a daily alarm option. So then why it was called once instead of just on is beyond me. I mean, once is literally on if you take out CE. I literally just realized. Watch the Talking Alerts video to learn more about how the feature works on this phone. This does have the voice prompt option. Unlike the display option, the left soft key is back and not the other language. There are no selectable bass ringtones on the 2008 and later models, so you'd only get talking caller ID in this menu. This isn't the first time set bass unit only has one option, because models like the KX-TG9344, which I have, has only the bass ringer and no talking caller ID. Speaking of caller ID edit on this model is unique in that it is shared by all handsets. So on most models, even those with a shared caller list, like the KX-TG9344SK, the caller ID edit setting is per handset or base. But on this phone, it is shared by all handsets. So I would believe the editing of the area code of the edited area code will be stored in the base, not the handset. Or maybe it is stored in the handset, and it's just one of those settings like Uniden's phone book match on later 2080 builds where it simply tells the handset how to behave. Or better example, Panasonic answer by voice command or Uniden's area code setting. The menu is almost laid out like the settings menu on the proper DECT models. Night mode, so from ringer setting, set date and time, talking caller ID, and then the rest of your settings. Then aside from set answering, it goes in order. Voicemail, message delete, LCD contrast, key tone. It's auto talk caller ID edit instead of caller ID edit auto talk, but even the 2009 6.4 and 7.4 are this way. And then set tone line and the rest of the settings. A major difference between those and this model, the 10.6.1 series, is just like the 2-line 9.3 series, caller ID edit is in the set tone line menu, so even though on this model it's per unit once again, you still need a link to the base for it. But unlike newer models, you can still change it on the base while the phone's in use. The buttons on this phone are rubber instead of plastic like I thought they would be. And an intercom works just like 5.8 where it shows all handset slots, not just those that are registered. But it's new enough to not have blind transfer. And speaking of transferring, the manual for the 6.4 and 7.4 series is very strange. It instructs you to hang up and then the second handset to pick up by pressing talk or speakerphone, which is ridiculous. It's even more ridiculous than what Uniden does, where it's the destination that has to press talk or speaker to accept the transferred call, but at least it can go on speakerphone, unlike Uniden phones. This is new enough to have 3-digit remote codes, but not new enough to let you disable remote access. Remote access works the same as the later 5.8s, where you can no longer do the greeting from remote access. That's strange because the 10 series does let you do the greeting from remote access. It does not say thank you for your call anymore. It just beeps. So that's the only difference. It's now going to leave a message into this phone. Let's set this ring count to 2. Huh, that's what blocking calls looks like. So now I have to unblock myself. Now it's call again. Like the 5.8 display goes back to standby, but it does say answering on the standby screen.
We will return your call.
But unlike the 5.8.3 could possibly be the only phone that does. Oh no, 5.6.3.2 does this as well. So this model no longer lets you pick up to answer even if auto talk is on, because it doesn't make it obvious. And now the 2.4 that does something really cool. I'll show the 2224 once it gets a new battery and power cord for it. If the handset's on the base while playing back a message on the base, it'll actually show the caller ID of that message. So now I can hang up. And now we have a new message. Now I'm going to play it back remotely. Oh, before we do that, you may have noticed during the first ring, the handset said checking calls. Now this is very strange, because what is it checking? Call ID doesn't come in until before the second ring. Call ID comes in at the end of the first ring in the US and Canada. So, I don't know why it would be saying that, because it has not received any data check yet. Maybe I could see why they did it. It's so that you wait until caller ID comes in so you know it's safe to answer. This is before we got the first ring suppression on the 7873 in 2013 and later. And ETSI models have always, as far as I can tell, suppressed the first ring even before that setting was introduced. And it doesn't even follow a first ring setting. It's just if you have stuff stored in the call block list. If you have nothing stored in the call block list on this phone, checking calls will not appear, and it also appears on the 6.4 and 7.4 series. So now let's play that message back. Wrong extension. It didn't even show the caller ID, but checking calls did disappear. So it starts out by saying one new message and then plays it back. It works like you'd expect on these older phones.
End of final message.
It does have a few more instructions, though, when it's in Spanish, so we'll take a listen to that as well. See, there's no greeting option. And it's not new enough to have star and pound to hang up. I think the 10.2 does have it, I believe. Oh, no, I forget if it does, actually. The 10.6.2 does. So let's set this to Spanish. Now I'm going to call again.
Ahora. No tienen nuevos mensajes.
So it starts out by playing the message that there are.
Pulse 2 para saltar el mensaje. Pulse 4 para escuchar nuevos mensajes. Pulse 5 para escuchar todos los mensajes. Pulse 0 para desactivar la función de contestadora.
That's the
Pulse asterisco y 4 para borrar
unique
mensaje
one.
individual. Pulse asterisco y 5 para borrar todos los mensajes.
Then, if you wait out the prompt, it's going to beep and you can record a message. Nope, that's only if after message playback. So let's try again.
Call from
Hola.
cockpit line.
No tienen nuevos mensajes. No tienen nuevos mensajes.
So if we wait that out, then it'll prompt me to record a message, I believe. And now I can record my message. So this is a very weird phone. as far as the lineup, as far as the evolution goes. If the 1032 had never come out, this wouldn't be as weird. That's why it's so weird.